Follow the spiritual psychology. Follow it behind Candace Owens. Will you watch the movie Dark Waters and why? And I have finished my healing ancestral bloodline. Blessings, everybody. Today's video, we are going to deep dive and send a message out to Candace Owens. We are in the third quarter, and we're going to talk about lawyers today. We're going to talk about the movie Dark Waters and how I've had some good luck in my life with lawyers. They always get a bad name, but we really need to root on the higher conscious lawyers to change what? Well, we're going to talk about that today. And I'm going to share a little bit because I am a ancient healer mystic. I'm going to share a little bit about Charlie Kirk's past life and why it's important to know within this life. And the relationship with Harriet Tubman. I'm going to go into Jimmy Slide, who's been distant. He's been traveling with Savion Glover, and I don't blame him. He's not somebody that likes spiritual warfare. He is one of those beautiful men that's all about unconditional love. But we're going to share a little bit about his input in the beginning of this spiritual warfare, which really is rooted in delusions and it's rooted in karmic loops of people who just won't get past certain generational programming and patterns. And who else? We'll get a lot of stuff going on. This is a great video for survivors to try to start to understand that if you read my books, if you come to my programs and all that jazz and you follow me, you're going to start to understand I've been through a lot of spiritual warfare and a lot of dealing with specific assignments with the Mother Gaia and with the Holy Family collectively in this timeline. And I've come to the finish of that. So I get to play now. I won't be doing too many of these videos. I'm not going to address too much on the three cockroaches. Who are the three cockroaches? You might have them in your life, and it will just give you some relief to know that I've actually had, when this book closed of my assignments, I had a meeting. It was with my higher conscious collective team, and it was with the devil. Yeah, I did not expect that. Because we've come into a time period on Mother Earth where we know that the predatory economics has to stop. We know that the injustice of law and the court systems have to stop. And so we're going to deep dive into that discussion today. And I think it's going to give you hope. I know that a lot of victims and survivors have been doing this. Or you've come on board to be the generational cursor, and it's been extremely challenging. For me, it's like I'm a cat. With 9 lives because they almost took me out. Yeah, pretty hard spelling last year, but it's okay because this is the time period where we're going to see, and that's the meeting I had with the devil. Of course, I'm not going to tell much online about that. That intel is very private. You have to earn that intel. But the rules have changed. I saw this years ago when spiritual people online weren't really talking about karma. We were preaching, follow Jesus and everything's okay. And it's like Jesus is a scapegoat for what? There's a idea, and Candace Owens brought this up, which I thought was brilliant. This idea that we're in 3D, but I actually think we're in 2D, 3D consciousness when we really look at the reality of what's been happening. Slavery never stopped. The children being trafficked and hurt never stopped. But we have more addiction. We're investing in robots more than human beings at this point. We're so disconnected from soul consciousness. And that's where I'm so excited, because within the closing of these books and a new chapter in my life and being able to have this higher conscious meeting with the devil, the rules have changed. And you don't have to believe that. You just have to continue to do your healing work and know that good consciousness matters. There are many different types of planets, and whether you believe that or not, it's okay. But I think you are in the next couple years. I think as more people get taken off this planet, Some will not be able to reincarnate, and it's not a punishment. It's not even a hell planet. It's a choice. It's a choice that they didn't want to purify. They don't want to clean up their debts. We have to acknowledge that partly the slave owner predator is financial debts. And if they can't play by the rules here, they just need to go to a 3D planet for hundreds of thousands of years and play out until they're ready to do what you do, the survivor, like me. We've dedicated our lives to healing this stuff. It's exhausting. And, I have a beautiful trauma blueprint that I'd love to share and have it utilized in the United States as a franchise and move forward. But in the meantime, I'm just enjoying the freedom of having let go of all of this and having so much database to share within my work. So if you're excited, join my mailing list at youmatter108@gmail.com. There'll be some events that I won't post online. This is for that really serious student. And there's some intel that down the road, once I qualify, I will share with leaders or share with a certain event once I get that download. But I need to see certain markers happening. And that's why I'm sending this message out to Candace Owens. So be a good team. Be a good team member and, maybe post a little comment under her video, just letting her know. I'm sure she'll get the signal. Maybe we should do a cat signal. I don't know. What are you thinking? Oh, hmm. Maybe Michael. Maybe Michael will come visit her. So who's Michael? Well, if you go through my videos, you see orbs and you see Mr. Rogers. They channel a whole bunch of people. And I talk about Michael. He's definitely in a lot of my creative projects moving forward. And Michael is really a beautiful healing tool for how we're going to move to the next level of inspiring people to do the work. And what do I mean? I mean the sciences that I did to become their own psychics, higher conscious, saintly people who want to heal whatever they need to heal, but come more into a planet of 5, 6D, where we have a lot more of children being born with unconditional love and joy and light. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great to have healing waters again? It's going to take a long time to heal Mother Earth. We have to heal ourselves first. Wouldn't it be great to have healing food? Wouldn't it be great to have just happiness and joy? You know, when my father passed away in 2022, began my, I sort of say, PhD. Had no idea what was going to happen. I had moments of high frequencies of joy throughout this process. You heal, you shake, you cry, you go to a really low frequency, and then the channels open. I'm a huge fan of the breathing playlists on this YouTube channel. There's 2 of them, and they were the game changer through my spiritual warfare. I highly recommend them. And if you do have a following, if you're a mental health therapist, wellness, contact me. Those are just the foundation to go into the brain work. And the brain work is it's not just about rewiring and becoming higher conscious, but it's using it in a saintly, holy way as you heal your karmic debts, whatever, or heal generational curses, one or the other. And they're quite unique and beautiful and different. So anyway, enough on that. Michael, so what Michael, how do I begin to talk about Michael? Well, in my last video of the Brewer series, I talked about this major healing dark night of the soul for 2.5 years and how this woman came and helped me for 3 days. I also talked about this gentleman that I met early on, and he kissed me, and I had this experience. Well, this person I call in my first book, Chapter 8, Mystery Man. He's the mystery man. And we see or know each other throughout the years, very small interactions, extremely important, right? Extremely important. And I remember one morning waking up and mother was like, you have to text him right now. You have to text him right now. You have to text him right now. And I was like, I'm done. Because I was kind of like chasing. I was kind of like, because after I healed that first dark night soul, I did it because I wanted to be with him. I was still traumatized with all these slave programs and unaware of it, but I was just like, and I was finally fed up. I was like, no more. And it just kept going over. And I was just done with mother. And I was like, oh, right. So I texted him something like, I hope you're having a good day. I'm sending your blessings, blah, 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 Heather. And immediately text her back. I could use the blessings. I'm at my brother's funeral, Michael, right now. And I literally got on the floor and cried for hours because that was his soulmate. That was one of his soulmates. And he had his heart was broken. And Michael was young. He was 50 years old, and so I was also angry. I was angry because I wanted to be there for him. And I felt that he had a wall up and wasn't allowing me into his world. And at the time, I have to be honest, I felt like I wasn't good enough. There was that slave programming running. So jump so many years, right? After the stalking event, which this particular mystery man lawyer came in, he helped me with certain things. He didn't help me with other things. There was a block in communication, which was a setup because there was more I had to do with this assignment. There was definitely Harriet Tubman energy at that pizza shop. I went through a period right before COVID, I think, of deep depression. I was just really, really sad. And that's when Michael came in. And I don't know how many stories I want to share, Michael. There's a lot of them. Uh, okay, I'll just share this one. I hear get in the car. I get in the car. I don't know where I'm going. I get on this road, and I'm not somebody that explores driving. I don't really like to drive, especially to places I don't know where I'm going, but I'm just listening. He's like, get on this road. It was a one-way road, and we went for about 35 minutes. And then he said, turn left. I turn left. I'm going through this forest, and I come out with this beautiful lake, this beautiful scenery, and Michael's bench. And a lot of healing happened on Michael's bench. I'm sitting on this bench looking at the most beautiful lake. The land is calming me because there's no karma on that land for me. It's feeding me, the lake, and nobody knows about this place. So it's like a hidden gem. And then all of a sudden, no one is there. And there is pot, like pot. And I'm like, what? And I don't like to smoke pot. And that is a whole other story within my research and what happened in the 20 years of a trauma expert and the brain SPAC scans and seeing people come back from Peru. And I'm just not a fan. And when I think of Jim Brewer's, comedy act with smoking pot, I want to tell you this. In India, there was a time when the government said, look at all the plants out there, all the pot. And we have so much of it. Go, smoke it. Let's get it. And then what happened next was the caste system. It's a plant that's used for very specific things. It shouldn't be used every day, all day, in the way it's used. I have so many stories behind that because Mr. Rogers' boys actually planted it in the basement, like hidden. There was like a big basement with compartments. It was like one of those old houses, and they were growing pot back in the day, so all this stuff. So the one message that I would say to you, I'm going to write you a prescription, Jim, right now. Okay. prescription. Here we go on my pad. And I want you to think about this every time you want to smoke pot. I'm going to give you what you should do, counteract that. So my prescription to you, okay? Your wife is right. Drink magic water. That's the message. Your wife is right. Drink magic water. But in this scenario, I have a lot of stories about pot. Eventually, he switches to tobacco sometimes because tobacco back in the day, before we had all these chemicals on our land called glyphosate, which, by the way, is it's a threat right now in America, and that's affecting our water and our food. So this is, we got to wake up. But so Michael switched that, but he goes into the pot to get people to recognize it, and it can be really like extreme. I'm not going to tell the rest of the story of that, but that's how I woke up to that. I did write his brother, who is he's a lawyer. He's one of those lawyers. Shh. I did write, and I said, "Your brother's here. Oh my gosh, your brother is actually here. No, you don't understand. Your brother is here." And I went on and I was like, you have to like see if you can reach out to him. And I know, like, this is my interpretation of him getting it in the mail at his law firm. Oh, wow. I did think she was the one, but she's just a hippie yogi. She's lost it. She thinks for some reason my brother's here and he's dead. Okay. I don't know what she's talking about. Oh my gosh. I thought, how could I have been such a fool? I'm sure. But Michael did a lot. There's a lot to Michael's story. Michael's comedy, Michael faces a lot of seriousness and a lot of spirituality. And so why am I bringing up Michael with Candace Owens is, I don't know, if all of a sudden there's a lot of pot smell and it's not in the house, you might want to sit in silence. You might want to ask some questions. You might want to meditate. You might get a message. But what I do know is that when I was going into this one particular building and doing one particular work with my dad on the other side and all these different things happening, my teacher started to get more relaxed with the fact that I was talking to beings on the other side. And I think she was like building her trust in that because we live in such a society that wants to block all of that. And yeah. And so my thing is, even though I am a high medium psychic, I don't want to spoon feed you all. I want you to actually heal your traumas so that you can reincarnate here on Mother Earth, which is a gift, and then be able to advance yourself. That's what we want. So, but anyway, one day I walk into my session and she's like, Michael was here. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, no, you don't understand. The client before you, it's like came into the whole building and was like, who is smoking pot? This whole place is smoking like pot. And so certain people were picking up on it. And so that brought the conversation in that it's Angel Michael, which is then it's not just the psychic medium healer like me, it's you're having an experience. And that's the future of my events and the way I work. And I don't think I need to tell you everything that your ancestors saying on the other side. I think you need to heal your trauma work by brain rewiring, which is the brain protocols I do, by the water, by detoxing glyphosate, by doing somatic shaking. There's more advanced somatic shaking because I had trauma in every corner of my body, auric field, and I was healing 10,000 specifically Black women. Some of you may have that assignment. In fact, I would guess that people who have been victimized a lot probably do have that assignment. And that is why we need to upgrade them because they're beautiful souls and we need to hold predators accountable, go to jail or the devil knows the new rules now, so once you do pass away, heaven forbid, you will not get through this door, because it's going to be eventually, mother is going to be the place everyone wants to be, but you can't lie about who you are in the way of the karmic structure. This is just the way it's moving. And it has to, because it went so far south. So a couple months ago, I did a video with Candace Owens and comparing her to the keepers. And that was to initiate investigation and also to have the confidence to dig where nobody else is going to dig. And of course, you're going to throw things out. And what that's unraveled right now is amazing, because she has allowed and educated so many people on not just what a psychopath is, because you can read that in a book. It's a different thing to watch it in real time. That was part of my assignment. So when my father passed away, one of the first words he wanted me to understand was psychopath. Not because I was raised by one, but because I was surrounded by them, because it was an assignment to understand the slave owner. And so it's really interesting, because in her dismantling, she's teaching people, okay, this person's saying, she's really in real time with text messages to Charlie, and this, she's showing you part of trauma education work, part of it. Like, she's not showing you how to heal it. She's not showing, but she's showing you that they've been buying out the systems in so many ways. And it is a web. Like me healing 10,000 women, it's a web. It's been a long process. It's been a really tiring and hard process, and I've been mostly doing it on my own. So she's showing that, and now the next chapter is legal. We all need to start questioning the law, and I'm going to give you examples of this. And we need to have higher conscious lawyers, and they're not robots. We do not want law to go into robots, and I'm going to explain why. What else do I want to say about this? I also kind of want to send the message out with the idea of law being the next movement. Is we're coming up into, who are we going to elect next as presidency? We obviously saw the destiny swap with Erica, but what I really want to stress to the leaders who feel this is their mission, we can't keep just electing people right and left. There needs to be other systems and businesses to empower humans. And that's the conversations. If anybody in masterminds wants to hire me in, I would like to share blueprint ideas, because you're exhausting a lot of the population in America. And even though the rich aren't feeling that, if we do go to war, which I hope we don't, you'll be the first target. I think you know that. So we can't just keep funding elections. We need to fund the people. And there's ways to do that that haven't been done. Okay. I have my notes, but I'm just sitting here to see where they want me to go next. So, when my father passed away, I was working beyond full time. I had dealt with that. And then by 2023, I decided to take time off for the first time. Not because I had trauma necessarily. I mean, I was shaking out trauma. I wanted to take off to grieve. I wanted to take off to change directions in my career. not knowing that I was finishing being targeted by a gang of mostly white men. There were a few women in a particular company. And I was really angry about that. Not to know that I was going to be stepping into what I would call a group of Black people, mostly men, some women. So both white, Black, because color is illusion. Um, I've always prayed and been connected to the Divine Mother, and I've never been upset at all the assignments. I love her. I know I'm an old soul, and I know it's a very hard assignment that most people probably don't have the skill set to come down to do. And that might sound whatever. It is what it is. The more you learn about it, um, it's just not easy. But Georgia came up a lot in a lot of different situations. And so I'm going to speak about the Jimmy Slide situation. There was a group that my dad was leading me towards. And this group, listening to this one particular channel from Atlanta, Georgia, I was very drawn to the podcast host, and felt I had a connection to this person. There were some red flags because I don't think this person has healed generational trauma. But at the time, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is somebody I can, collaborate with, blah, 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 this and that. So there was an event that I paid a ticket for to go to Atlanta, Georgia. And Jimmy Slide kept messing up my computer so I couldn't book a flight. And I knew after 2 days that that was not a coincidence. He came through with his Kentucky Fried Chicken smell. And then he told me, you can't go to this event. I was then led to email this host. I did not tell him the truth. And I'm going to say the truth now. I just simply said, give my ticket to somebody else. And I asked him a question about one of the speakers that has been on his show and something that the Divine Mother set up. Okay. That email started the 3 cockroaches, after they did some research, wanting to destiny swap. And I mention this because I understand Charlie's, as Candace Owens is going through all of this and how he was targeted for a long time. Now, I wasn't targeted. These were assignments. Yeah. So Charlie wasn't into meditation in that sense, but he was very much into Jesus Christ. And I believe in the first meeting, he was put into a love spell. And then witchcraft was done on him to isolate him, take Candace out because they had a soul connection, and start to confuse him. And so what we're learning now, what I'm saying is already online, is that Charlie was going to divorce her, which would have broke the contract, which you cannot do within the agenda of the psychopaths. And so there was a destiny swap. Now, I do believe that this had to happen, meaning, unfortunately, he did have to be assassinated because his assignment, angelically, he's been working through a lot of people, including Candace. What Candace is unraveling the psychopathic government and Hollywood and money and all that, and church. Even though she's a strict Catholic, she's still dismantling church. And I'm dismantling a lot of spirituality, from fake shamans to fake yogis to fake law of attraction stuff to fake all of that, because we need generational healing tools if we want to live like Jesus's grandmother 600 years on planet Earth, right? They don't teach you about that. They want you to keep karmically looping, but you're not going to karmically loop anymore, is my warning. Some of you are actually going to have to leave. That's not my rules. That has been decided by the two energies. So what I didn't tell this host is that Jimmy Slide's exact words were, these people are racist. You're going to go there and it's not going to be good. There's going to be a few people that are going to really target you. And he said, these people, you're their teacher, but all they see is your outer shell. And I would have totally backed off from this whole entire group, except the three cockroaches had already decided to put me in what was a love spell, but I wasn't in love. It was just loving the group, which then they started to they all had different strategies, whether they knew it or not, to take me down, to steal energy, steal ideas, and definitely take down a lot of work and contacts, especially with the water. Really evil stuff. But what happened through that process, because I was doing incredible generational healing work with brain protocols, my water and shaking, is I started to get upgrades that they didn't expect, especially once Anastasia came in and I started to hear her dialogue towards these men, and then more Black women started to come in. I knew these three cockroaches were not at all what they appear to be. So it was my toolkit that has allowed me to get to this frequency. And they don't want that on stages. They don't want that really to be known unless they are the handlers. Sound familiar? So that's a parallel of what's going on with what you're doing, Candace. Now I'm on the healing world. What does that have to do with Charlie Kirk and Harriet Tubman? Well, and everybody can disagree with me. I'm used to it, so I don't care anymore. What I'm learning as I walk around my neighborhood is people are listening to my videos and they are agreeing with them. People are not seeing me anymore as whatever. They're going, she's known all along. So Charlie Kirk was a slave in Maryland in his past life. Harriet Tubman took Charlie Kirk as a Black boy out of that. And that's all I'm going to share in that moment. That sets up his next life of information. Now I can share privately, if I ever meet Candace Owens, when he'll reincarnate and some of that stuff, but he's on assignment to clean up slavery and to clean up the American government if we're going to have one. So when I said in my last video a couple months ago that maybe you would accomplish something politically from both sides, you are already. Because I can tell you, I've been in a lot of parks in the last couple of weeks, finding some magical moments and places because I'm very connected to the land here. People really don't even want to vote again because they know the government is very parasitic and Satanist. So there's a distrust in the elite in general. And we got some big problems with that, right? Because what are we going to do? Because people in general are being screwed over because the elites really are pushing the robots. And I would like to push human development, human souls. So with my last sort of shebang before the doors closed on the warlock who was trying to kill me, basically, through psychic, attacks and all the curses and all that through the groups that he had. There was a reason why there was a window open. It was a window to see if anybody was going to come in and help. It was testing them. They thought I was being tested. No, they all have dyslexia. They all made assumptions, and they all have deeply generational traumas, whether they're a slave owner or a slave. This whole group. You have to be accountable for yourself. There was some energies piping in through prayer and love now that I have all that energy out that I feel that was always there, but they were being attacked. And that whole scenario, I'll teach privately at some point down the road, not now, because I don't want to put energy into that. I want to put energy into joy and love and light of where I'm at. It's a victory for me to just wash my hands, and say bye-bye. But within cleaning up, the reason why Harriet and Harriet's mother came in so deeply after Anastasia's healing crisis, which was July, August, and September of last year, is that the slave owner from Savannah, Georgia, the white man slave owner, who was known for the king of cotton, is the warlock. And he got Harriet's sisters, and they were breeders. I knew that the warlock, after Anastasia, it was becoming very clear, had done a lot of trafficking of women, black and white, through many lifetimes. And I knew that. I just didn't know if I knew, like, I thought maybe the group was good, that or some of them, that somehow I could come in, and I was confused. But now I don't even care about the group, because the group didn't care about me. You know what I mean? Like, the group did not come to save the day or do any, they just left me out to dry, because whatever. The denial, like, they can judge my family for being in denial of the psychopath. They did the same blueprint, right? But the problem is they're teaching spirituality. Why didn't they know about the 3 cockroaches? And they invested, they put them on platforms, they made tons of money, and those 3 cockroaches hurt so many people. So many people. Well, I mean, when Jim Brewer talks about losing 20 million, that is nothing. And I don't care about the money I lost. I care about the fact that disabled and senior people in PA didn't get free water systems, because that deal was ruined, and I didn't know it at the time. And I'm not angry about it, because the really interesting thing is, when you face that type of torture that I did in December, and you come out of it, it's like, I could be really happy just living in the forest right now. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, I'm going to get a good lawyer when I do business, if I do business, you know what I mean? Again, because it's like, wow, like, I just can't even comprehend that, but it's been everywhere. That's what Candace Owens is unraveling with business and deals and finances. That's what the Epstein files are unraveling. This is not a foreign subject matter. I've just known so much of it throughout the years, and I felt so isolated and sort of like, well, she's just a little different. I am. I'm very different. I'm a mystic. I could tell people their past life. I mean, it's like so heightened now. And I'm also extremely sensitive. And so all of them fighting and coming into me, I was actually getting all of their energies and downloads after I released it. Like, they were, but it's they invaded, and I fought back, just like these women fought back in slavery. I fought them back. I would scream at them. I would tell them the financial punishment for remote viewing me, for doing this and that. They don't care. They're slave owners. They don't care. They don't care about Harriet Tubman or John Horace. They just go on stage and pretend like they care, and like they actually comprehend war. They have no idea, And the interesting thing is, I think what's sad is there has been no justice, and that's the biggest key is we have to change things now, because if predators actually experience some of the justice hardcore the way victims have to, they wouldn't behave that way. They would have to suck it up and do the work, you know? And I just feel really free and released because I think up until this point, and I think survivors need to hear this, we have been handed a bad deck of cards and you lose hope. I'm here to tell you that I absolutely know that the devil has agreed to the 7 laws that we created within my council. I absolutely know that if you do your generational trauma work, the work that I'm telling you to do, and you empower yourself and you keep saying no to dark energies and your boundaries, that good is going to come. You might not see it right away, but you are going to see it. And as we start to see the table turn, because we haven't yet, it's going to bring more of the people who are truly good souls, because these demonic energies and people have been running this for centuries. And they just don't really have any feeling of, they pretend it. They're very good on stage. They really good at acting. And if they wear the right clothes, you know, and do the right smile, you think it. But when you really have a sense in your body, like as soon as those doors closed, I was getting these sensations in my body and I was like, oh, oh, that's Mystery Man. Oh, he's been sending me love for a very long time, all day, every day. I didn't know what that sensation was. Oh, yeah, yeah. So I'm neutral. Like I don't have any feelings towards this group of people. I just want to move on. I've suffered enough in this life. I want opportunities and I want to, yeah, I want to take care of myself. I mean, they definitely did a great job with the finance and blocking out work. And I know they can't do that anymore. I know that it's going to reverse now deeply. Um, at some point, it's really going to reverse. And I also know that uh, I, I just know. I know because of the experience I had in that conference. So, some people, so the whole color thing, I don't have all the answers to it, but I will say this, some people reincarnate looking a lot the same each life, some bloodlines. Some people like, there's no coincidence that me and my parents decided to be white. Like we went white. We've never been white in our past lives. So that, and then this particular warlock went black, but he wasn't black in his past life. So there's some bloodlines that can do this, but there's some. So one of the things that I realized when the books closed is I was around a psychopath for a good couple of years. He was a yoga client, became a water business partner. He lived with me for a couple months. My whole family met him. My dad, I know, did not like him. And my parents, I mean, my brother and my mother did, because he was familiar. He was a slave owner in a past life. But I will say this, he taught me a lot. And eh, I learned a lot from him. And I think if I had not gone through that, I would not have been able to pick up on all the stuff that I picked up on in the corruption of this group, and particularly these 3 people. I will say this is in my future books or creations. The Lots family, this is one of the houses, museums in Franklin, Tennessee, where I was a slave in my past life into this life. And he was not the one who owned the papers on me. The one who owned the papers on me owned the papers for Anastasia. And I've known that slave owner. He was a client for and also a friend at one point friend and then client for 10 years. And then when he started to do the generational trauma work, the slave owner started coming out, and I was deathly afraid of him, not knowing why. Very entitled, unfortunately, to me in some ways. He might not see it that way. Very, very entitled. And I tried several times to have a conversation, but I think when you're in your 80s, you get stuck in your way. Unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to be able to reincarnate here, but this particular person, this other slave owner, so this is the back cover. He looks the same in this life. He's still alive, and he looks pretty much the same, and he had pretty much had the same toolkit. We went through this house where we both built it together. And yeah, so I learned a lot. And actually, my brother is in a past life. He fought in the Civil War, and he looks very similar from the past life into this life. And what's interesting is I do feel my brother ran into John Horse in the war. I do. I got a confirmation on that. Yeah. And I think John Horst had a spiritual, there was something that happened spiritually with them. And I think that's why he chose to reincarnate into this family system. You know, it's interesting when we talk about the government, J.D. Vance, because when I studied him and I watched the movie on his childhood abuse, he reminded me of my brother. And I thought in the beginning, oh, they're going to come in and change mental health. Well, no, it was all a scam. We all know that now. What I do know now is that for people like my brother that does have a good heart and has a lot of good skills, if you can't get healed that generational trauma, you are a target. You are a target when you get up the ladder. So we really need men, just everyday men. There are some men in my neighborhood that would be great leaders, but they need generational trauma work, and they need it led by a man. So I need to teach male leaders that I trust in some of this work to then teach groups, because we need a different type of leadership moving forward. One that's not concerned about pleasing everyone, one that can be a lawyer detective like Candace Owens. And so it's interesting. Let's get into dark waters. I'm going to show you, you can watch this movie for free right here on YouTube. It's a movie, but it's an actual real life movie. It's a real story. And it's been, you know, all the water movies, they last for like a day online, and then they're swept under the rug. That's it. What I want you to think about when you're watching this movie, especially towards the end, is I want you to think about what happens when we don't have these type of lawyers anymore that care this much and sacrifice this much. What happens when robots are running the show in law, when they don't have a heart or a soul to understand? These are concerns. And so I feel like as we have to build new judges in a new legal system that I know has hurt, you know, as a healer, I said a Leo, as a healer, do you know how many people in the last 25 years went to jail for curing something? So every category has been a target except for, it seems like, the psychopaths. So I understand, but we cannot throw the law out. We have to have, like, just like the meeting we had with the devil, we have to have back to Mother Earth rules that karma is real again, and that you don't get to just reincarnate and do the same thing over and over again. And what's the other point I want to make with that? Because I go, there's so much material, but I don't want to say, I just want to say certain things. Oh, and that goes with, I keep saying it, I don't hear anybody else saying it yet. You rape once, you had the DNA to prove it. You have whatever else to prove it. I understand that people lie, but actually, if I was in a room with somebody and did 4 hours, I would know if they're a victim. I would see it in their skin. I would see it in their throat. I would see it. Now, I know you can't use that as a test, you know, through that, but I'm just saying, I know so many cases that DNA was slipped under for years and years and years, and you know that too. We have to get to a point, you rape once, jail for life. For life. Oh, this is the message we're going to end with. Candace Owens, those people who are focusing on these lanes, I don't know if you're aware, there are politicians in certain states that are trying to push legal bills that if you rape, you don't have to go to jail. That's the dyslexia. Every state, if you're a leader there, you should pay attention and start to call out if you see this trying to happen. This is a serious problem because rape is not easy to heal. And the lawyer I talk about that I met years ago, the mystery man, said when somebody came in his law firm with a lot of cash, but it was to cover up or to defend sexual abuse, he threw them out. Because he said to me, and he's the only person that's ever said this to me, I don't know if you can heal that. And the truth is, after healing everything that I've healed, which was torture and rape, the things that I did that I can't say online because I don't trust, people make up stuff. They take something and I don't want my trauma center to be a joke. I want people to actually heal. And you can't say that we have a good healing system right now with the stats that we have going on in America. You can't. And so that's why I keep things private. You are going to have to qualify, and you're going to have to qualify with the people that I trust. So with that said, if we don't have the legal stance, then I could do it. I'll get out of jail in 3 years and I'll do it again. That's, oh, I can create all this stuff. I'll just die and reincarnate and come back again. No. No. Sorry. Gig's up. So we need to push that legally. We need to understand that legally. And I'm going to finish this talk, the spiritual psychology behind Candace Owens' dark waters and generational curses, with this. Practical healing actions for survivors. Observe your environment. If you're around a lot of toxic family or people or friends, or if you're over giving to all of them, you're everybody's caretaker, but honestly, listen closely. Are they going to be able to take care of you when you're sick? Nobody showed up for me. And I mean sick. But it seems like the victims are always taking care of months and months and years other people. It's time that you take care of yourself, because if you do the healing generational trauma work, you might learn that some of your family members might be karmics and they should be taking care of you. The tables should turn. And if they're not going to, then just suck you dry. What kind of life is that? So you need to observe your environment. There's 2 free playlists on this YouTube channel. You have nothing to lose by doing them, and you have everything to gain by starting to understand your breath, which is the first key in shaking out serious generational trauma. And a lot of people have it. Just because you're healthy, or just because some people don't come from a lot of trauma. There's that window, right? But living to 100 years old isn't actually that impressive. We're just toxic. We're just, some people go into the dementia at 85, 90, Alzheimer's, and they have generational trauma they just didn't want to deal with, but they had a great life. But then now they're not having a great exit. And are they going to have a great comeback in? Because we want to heal this stuff completely. We can't. So do those free playlists. If you're in any type of wellness, mental health, let's get together and let's talk about some things you can do within your audience as a win-win. Get on the water systems. Can't say enough. I have one free ebook, but I also have a private ebook that has a lot of water medical protocols. We have to stop plastic, all plastic. I have so many stories about that as well. Maybe for future videos, we'll see. But those are just foundational things as you're doing somatic shaking, as you're writing, journaling. And if you want to do private consultation, just reach out to me at youmatter108@gmail.com. But know that I'm not playing around. So I always required my trauma clients to do homework. Some of them never did, and that's why I stopped contracts with them. I am really, really focused, and it's that, 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 that. And then when you see the result or you make this change, okay, so things like that. What else do I want to share? I think that's it for now. I really appreciate you being on this video. It was kind of intense, and that's one of my sides. Hopefully the next chapter of my life, you're going to see a lot more fun, humor with real stuff, but flavored with more joy and more humor underneath it. Because sometimes it is, I was describing to somebody that later in my trauma career, you have somebody crying for 20 minutes, shaking out. You got to put on a good song and dance. You know what I mean? Like, you got to put on your favorite tune and sing or scream. You got to just release it to counterbalance what's going on. So that's my magic. And I'm really grateful for you. And for those who are, probably the 3 cockroaches will listen to this, all contracts are released, dissolved, handed over to the higher realms, and you choose what you choose. I don't need anything from you. I'm good to go. And I know that I won't see you in the next life. So we are cleared. Whatever you decide to do within your journey, it is what it is. And I am moving on. So many blessings. I hope you guys have a great day.